is a framework for expanding, not limiting human rights. When it's properly conceived, when it's properly seen, when it is properly utilized. It is a framework for expanding the human rights of individuals, not for limiting those human rights, including the rights of women, including the rights of children, including the rights of persons with disabilities, including the rights of racial and ethnic minorities. So when it's properly conceived, it becomes a framework which expands those rights. It doesn't limit them. Okay, so that is one of the ways. And tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the human rights framework within AJS, so that it is clear how AJS takes into account the human rights of individuals. So the first thing that we talk about when we talk about AJS is to tell communities, including your communities, now the people of faith communities, when you are talking to people about AJS, you must be able to tell them that the first thing that they must do is they must practice AJS so that it's in consonance and in compliance with the Constitution and especially the Bill of Rights. That's a minimum. That's a minimum. Basic minimum. Any AJS that is practiced that violates any of the Bill of Rights is first of all null and void, because the Constitution says so. We are only practicing AJS because we've been permitted by our Constitution, which we bequeath to ourselves, to do so. And that Constitution says that it must be in compliance with the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is what contains our human rights. So what AJS does is it becomes a mechanism for expanding human rights, because you go to these communities and you tell them you want to practice your own justice systems. It is okay, it is allowed by the Constitution. The only thing we ask is that you must promote human rights. You must promote the Bill of Rights. You must promote women's rights. You must promote children's rights as a minimum. And you find that a lot of these communities are much more willing to say, please tell us about those rights, so that we can make sure that we practice them here in exchange for our justice system to be allowed and permitted. Now then, of course, we've talked about this ad nauseum. AJS is also an effective mechanism for the reduction of case backlog, isn't it? So that when you have that case that really needs to go to court, then it goes to court, and there are fewer cases, which then reduces the case delay and the case backlog. So those cases then that are in court, we can deal with them. We can give the adequate attention that we are required to give. But now, I am sure as you sit here, you can think of many other advantages of AJS. And I want to now throw it to you and ask, what are the other advantages of AJS that you can think of? Was it Omolo? Is it Bishop Omolo? Bishop Omolo. What are the other advantages one can think of AJS? Okay, mpatie mic ndio wale wako huko wasikie. So now we are thinking about, so I have lumped up 5 different reasons why we must do AJS. I started with the Bible, and now we are coming to the real thing. Why?
I'm combining the process.
Yes.
With the situation.
Yes.
In terms of resolution of it, or within a home environment.
Yes.
What I mean by home is within a location.
Okay.
Where we can even speak the same language.
Okay.
So it's not in English, not Kiswahili. I can even do it in the Luo.
Okay.
And that might probably espouse the people who are conflicting to cool down a little bit and listen to each other. But if I come with English,
yes,
I might even make this thing worse. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, because of language.
So one reason AJS is good is because it is functionally more accessible to the people. People use their language, isn't it? Ukikuja kotini, lazima uongee Kiingereza ama Kiswahili, si ndio? Na hata Kiingereza ile huwa tunaongea si ile ya kawaida. Lazima tuanze kukwambia ipso facto, prima facie, res ipsa loquitur. Alafu unapigwa na buta. Mpaka unaanza kujiuliza, mimi nilienda shule kweli? Ukikuja kotini hata unaweza kwenda kuitisha school fees. Sema mimi sikufundishwa kama lakini ukienda kwa wazee, unaenda unaongea ile lugha inaongelewa hapo, si ndio? Kama ni Kikamba unaongea Kikamba, si ndio? Na hata ikikushinda unaongezea ile nyingine unajua. Si ndio? As long as people are understanding, si ndio? So it is functionally accessible. Another reason. So you have a mic there. So umpatie huyu she looks like a bishop. That one, yes. Simama tu alafu tuambie another advantage of AJS.
Bwana asifiwe.
Amen.
Nashukuru juu umetupea pongezi wa mama.
Yes.
Siku moja tutatawala Kenya.
Eh.
Tunafurahia mafundisho haya kwa sababu tumeelimishwa tutaweza kukaa na majirani wetu badala ya kukimbia kotini, tutasolve sisi wenyewe kama wamama na watoto pia.
Kabisa.
Kwa hivyo tumefurahia kwa vile umetuletea hiyo lesson. Na tunafurahi bado tutaendelea. Karibuni tena.
Sawa, asante.
Tumefurahia.
Mimi nataka utuambie advantage ya AJS. Patie huyo mwenzako itoke. Lakini siku ile wamama watakuwa president, hawatatawala Kenya, watatumikia Kenya. Haya. That will be the difference.
Mimi naona kwamba
Yes.
cost
Yes.
cost ya kupata justice itakuwa minimum, itakuwa cost
Exactly.
ya kupata justice.
Sio, mnaelewa tu cost. Ukienda hapa kwa wazee kufile kesi huwa unalipishwa pesa ngapi? Hata hakuna. Hata hiyo chai saa zingine wakikuangalia tu wanasema wewe hata chai yako tukikunywa itakuwa ni laana. Lete kesi tu. Si ndio? Lakini ukikuja kotini lazima ufanye filing fees. Labda hujui kufile, uende kwa wakili akucharge, si ndio? Na ni kesi tu kidogo, si ndio? Kwa hivyo cost zinakuwa ni nyingi. Alafu tena kotini lazima uende mpaka mahali koti iko. Kama nyumbani ni Kuresoi, lazima ukuje mpaka Molo ama Nakuru ndio high court iko. Na hiyo si ni pesa unatumia. Lakini AJS tunafanyia kesi wapi? Pale tu pale nyumbani. Haya, next.
Naona moja hapo ya advantage ya AGS ni kwamba unaongea na watu ambao you're familiar with them. Na unaweza kujiexpress kuliko kwenda kotini na kuta watu hata hujaingia pale unastuka.
Exactly.
Yes. Alafu nafungwa tu.
Yes. Ni ukweli. AJS unakutana na watu you're familiar with in an environment you're familiar with. Lakini ukikuja kotini kwanza unakutana na mimi nimevaa sura ya kazi. Ukiangalia the next one unakuta kuna polisi amesimama next to me na ako na bunduki. Hata ukijaribu kujieleza unakuta unameza mate. Si ndio? Unashindwa. So that's another advantage. Yes, the back, yeah, hapa. Oh, kuna huyo sawa sawa.
It also saves time.
It saves time, isn't it? Yes, ukiwa na kesi unaenda unamaliziwa hata siku hiyo. Hakuna adjournment, hakuna mention. Si ndio? Inamaliziwa hapo haraka. Next.
Kwa sababu ina embrace reconciliation. Ina reduce hostility.
Exactly.
Yeah, between the parties.
Inaleta reconciliation, ina reduce nini? Hostility. Ukikuja kwangu kwa kesi, my work is to say you lose, you win. Si ndio? Hiyo ndo kazi yangu. Hakuna siku ndasema mimi naona hapa mko draw. Kotini hakuna draw. You win or you lose, isn't it? So hakuna siku watu watareconcile. Sijaifanya kesi alafu watu wakatoka hapo nje wakasalimiana, wakasema yenyewe that was a good match. Hakuna. So by definition half the people are very unhappy. But the truth is it's not even half the people. The truth is about 75% of the people who get awards from the court are unhappy. Hata wale huwa wameshinda mara nyingi huwa hawajafurahi kwa sababu hawakushinda vile walikuwa wanataka washinde. So they are still unhappy. But in an AJS unakuta watu reconcile mara nyingi wamesikizana, inakuwa a win-win situation. Yes, please.
I want to refer to something that happened in January 5th. We got into an accident. Na ni mtu alikuja akiovertake akatugonga. We rolled, lakini tulitoka hapa, Mungu akatuokoa. But tukaangalia, wakati tulirealize, tukajua kwamba yule alitugonga ni mtumishi wa Mungu bado. Sasa tukaona hakuna haja ya kwenda kupelekana kotini. Tunaambiwa this is reverend this versus reverend this. Tukaona tuokoe heshima za watu wa Mungu. Tukaondoa kesi na tukaenda tukakutana na huyo mtumishi wa Mungu. We reconciled, we forgave one another, na tukakula lunch. Kwa hivyo ile cost ilikuwa hapo ya hiyo kesi ilikuwa kutukula lunch.
Yes.
So and we became friends.
Amen.
Hatukujuana mbele ya accident, lakini sasa tukakuwa marafiki.
Amen.
So
Yes.
tuliokoa heshima za watu wa Mungu. Na kwa sababu wakati mnapigana na watu wa Mungu si vizuri.
Very good.
Kwa hivyo na hakukuwa na cost. Na Mungu alituokoa. Thank you.
Asante. Sasa mnasikia, sio ni advantage. So one of the advantages of AJS is you get free lunch. Kuna huyu pastor hapa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Ngugi.
Yes.
Bishop Kivuva.
Yes.
Mwananzeki. You gave an example that was left us in tears.
Yes.
The Weetabix case. And what I'm understanding from this program that we are going through today,
Yes.
it leaves the family in a good environment of reconciling to one another, the whole community. Either the people that had conflict, kama wazazi yao, huyo mzee alikuwa conflict, either kijana yake afungwe, na msichana ameshakufa, and you solve it in a way that you leave the whole environment and the village at least more reconciled than leaving them in a greater war or in agony. So I find it watu wote wanaelewana pamoja baada ya kuja kupanga laini na kutumiwa magumu ya judge.
Absolutely. It's about uwiano ile wa jamii, si ndio? Wewe inarudi pamoja kwa AJS. That is something that we cannot achieve in court. However much we try, you can't achieve that in the court setting, which is something that you achieve naturally in an AJS setting. Tafadhali.
So one,
Yes.
it will minimize shame in the body of Christ.
Yes.
And one, it will continue building the body of Christ to become stronger.
Absolutely. So for people of faith, hiyo imeeleweka, si ndio? Hiyo imeingia kama direct injection. Si ndio? Haya, next yes, and then alafu wa mwisho hapa. Yes.
Ndio, habari zenu. Nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya vile tumesikia mambo haya ya AJS siku ya leo. Kama mchungaji na pia nasimamia nyumba 10 mahali nilipo, kumbe tumekuwa tukifanya AJS bila kujua.
Exactly.
Kwa sababu tumepatanisha watu. Mtu mmoja alisema vizuri pale, time hakuna kuangalia wakati wa kureconcile. Kwa hivyo hata siku moja tulireconcile watu fulani, mke na mume walikuwa wamekosana sababu ya mke bwana kuandikiwa SMS sijui na mpenzi kutoka nje, so wakakosana na mke wake. Tuliresolve hiyo kesi mpaka saa 7, karibu saa 7 ya usiku. Sasa huyu aliyesema time alisema vizuri, maana hiyo haina kureconcile watu na kutengeneza si mpaka kuwe na time nzuri. So tulifanya mpaka saa 7, ingine tunafanyaga mpaka saa 4 depending na kesi iko namna gani, na tunasuluhisha. So ninapongeza JS kwa sababu huwa kumbe tunafanya na hatujui.
Bas. Hiyo ni ukweli. Mara nyingi wengi wenu tayari mnafanya AJS, it is just that you've not been calling it that, and it is that you've not been systematic about it. So today what I want you to, one of the lessons from this training is you want to be more systematic, more intentional, more deliberate in doing it, okay? So that it has more impact. You want to be deliberate about it. And then you want to be more confident. Remember what Corinthians tells us about our power to judge the world? We want to be more confident about it because of its impact in the world and because of its power to transform the world. Yes, please.
I'm thinking of the benefits in terms of, for example, the 49% that you say their cases don't go to court.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not that they have resolved, have decided to keep it there.
Yes.
And it leaves some simmering in the lives of people.
Yes.
And the 21% whose cases are a backlog,
yes,
as they are waiting for justice, there is a lot of mental challenges, stresses, destruction of family relationships.
yes,
and so I'm seeing AJS as a way of a healthy society and healthy families. If you're able to know that we have been listened to,
yes,
and in good time, and therefore walk through the process of healing. So I'm seeing
Absolutely.
it as the way of going to, you said we don't go to the hospital for
Yes,
help. Now
yes.
I'm seeing as though AJS is one of the way of taking community to help.
Health, absolutely. Thank you. It's a very good way to put it. AJS is really the place, it's the pathway towards health in the community. That is the pathway towards health. Of making sure that there is justice and reconciliation in our community. So the question is, why are we not doing it? And why are we not doing enough of it? So one of the reasons that I want to put here, the other reason for AJS is what we've just been saying. It's a mode of doing justice differently. That's what we've just been talking about. All those advantages. It's a different way of doing justice, and this is what we call restorative justice. In court, we don't do restorative justice. Okay? We don't do any of that. We just decide who has won and who has lost. And that's what our training is. That is what the law allows us to do. But in AJS, you're able to do restorative justice, and we want you to be able to do restorative justice and then have all these advantages, including its affordability, the fact that it leads to more social inclusion, the fact that it has minimum formalities and technicalities, the fact that it is faster, it is less adversarial, the remedies are infinite. Saa zingine wale watu wengi mtu akikuja amekosewa, mara nyingi mtu hutaka tu apology. Ni ukweli ama ni uongo? But you know, in court there is no remedy called apology. Wezi kuja kwangu nisikilize kesi, alafu niandike judgment refu ya 23 pages, alafu niseme remedies. It is hereby ordered that Pastor Ngahu shall tender an apology to Bishop Omolo. Hiyo nikiandikiwa natolewa kama judge. Ndio, it is not allowed. But those are things that are very allowed, they're permissible in the system. And then of course, as we said, we are also reducing our reliance in incarceration. We're removing our people, the people of God, from prison. Okay? Every time you have someone, a human being in prison, that is one less soul you can convert to heaven. Sawa sawa? Aya. Now, then I want us to very briefly talk about this. Also, AJS is a site where we can grow healthy customs, healthy traditions. Okay? Now, what I want to say about here is that AJS is not a place where we glorify only past traditions, some of which might be problematic, but it is a place where traditions grow organically, like they were meant to be, and they do so in a healthy way. AJS becomes a place for practicing our customs, our traditions in a healthy way. Okay? Not necessarily in a way that we promote harmful traditional practices. And then lastly, getting to the end, is there anyone here who is not absolutely persuaded that AJS has to be an important part of the ministry of the church? Is there anyone who is not persuaded? I'm now doing the reverse of the altar call. Because the altar call, you call them in front. So I mean, who is not convinced? Sindio? Yeah. Is there anybody who is not convinced? You are not convinced? Yes. You have an issue.
Violence,
yes,
or injustice, we are referring to women and the children. We're living in men. It's like now we are building a society of, in the future, women will, because much of the time you will not find when you talk about gender-based violence or whatever,
yes,
we don't mind much about men.
Yes.
And there are men who are going through those problems. But we are just on women and the children.
Yes.
And especially girly boy,
Yes.
girly child, and the women. So we may end up having a society whereby our boys will have no voice in their homes.
Okay, I hear you. So I hear that as a cautionary tale. He's saying, but if we all keep talking about women and children, but a society must include men also. And also must include the boy child. That's what he's saying, isn't it? But remember also Jesus said, I did not come so that I can strengthen the powerful. I came, si ni ukweli? Yeah. Jesus said, you know, I could be eating with the Pharisees and the high priests and so forth, isn't it? But no, that is not who. I didn't come for those. I came for the downtrodden and the vulnerable and the weak. Yes? Those are my people. That's who I came for. The powerful already have their ways. They have ways of protecting themselves, isn't it? They already own the world, isn't it? They have the means to do it. So that is why many times, and when it happens, but on a serious note, let me just make this important point. So today we might see women as pastors, women as bishops, we might see even a few women as ministers, a few women doing well in their professions and so forth. But make no mistake, this is still, the world is still a very patriarchal society. We still have a society which glorifies men, which systematically disadvantages women. That is a fact, okay? And maybe in another seminar, we can talk about that. Because it's important as people of God that we understand the systematic ways in which it does that. So you don't just say, but we have equality, it's in the law. Look at Article 27, it's clear, the sexes are equal. It's not about that. It is not about the formal equality. It is about the substantive structures of oppression that exist in the society. And we can start talking about all the different ways in which it manifests itself in the society. So that is why we often talk about women and children. We're just obeying Jesus' word. Because he said, please align yourself with the weak and the vulnerable. Okay? So now I want to make one last point, okay? I want to make one last point. What I've tried to demonstrate to you here today is that AJS is a system that transforms the people, it transforms the process, and it transforms the problem. That is how you get not only 2 wins, but 3 wins. When you are using AJS as the grammar of justice in the community, you transform the people. Both the people who are disputants, who are involved in the dispute, as well as the people who are attending to the dispute, and the people around them. You also transform the process. The process in which you are doing this is performative. Okay? It's performative. You are able to achieve something we can't do in court. Okay? It is a way of living, which we are not able to do in court. Okay? Then, you are also transforming the problem itself. So you're able even to solve future problems by talking about the specific problem that is before you. So you're also transforming the problem in that community. Because you don't have the same restraints that we have in court. So when I'm sitting in court, na kila siku nafanya kesi za mama ameletwa na chang'aa, nampiga faini ya 10,000. Kesho wanaletwa 4, na wapiga faini ya 12,000. Kesho kutwa wanaletwa 8, na wapiga faini ya 20,000 ili iwe funzo kwa wengine. Kesho hiyo nyingine wanaletwa 20. I am not solving the societal problem. Do you see that? I'll keep saying there, ili iwe funzo kwa wengine, the next day wanaletwa 30. Ili iwe funzo kwa wengine, the next day wanaletwa 40. It is never funzo kwa wengine. Because the societal problem has not been solved. Okay? But AJS gives you an opportunity to get to the real origin, roots of the problem. You are able to start asking, ni kwa nini wamama wajane kwa hii jamii yetu wameanza kuuza chang'aa? Si ndio? That's a question I can't ask from where I sit in court. Mimi naletewa tu mama boy na mweka ndani. Kesho ni mama Joe na mweka ndani. Si ndio? But kwa AJS you can be able to talk about those things and start saying, maybe as a community we need to bear responsibility. And maybe there are things we need to do differently. Maybe as a church we need to do something differently. Okay? So that is the most important thing that you must remember about AJS. But also remember this, okay, which comes now from the Bible. Okay? Also, if you settle disputes, but you leave persons essentially unchanged, unforgiving, isolated, unaware of the peace of Christ, that is not an adequate mission for Christian peacemakers. And this is why this pains me, because the job I've been given is to settle dispute, but to leave people essentially unchanged, unforgiving, isolated from Christ. And I want you to take the mantle of settling disputes in ways that transforms the people, so that you leave them forgiven and forgiving, so that you leave them not isolated, but one in communion with their societies and communities and in communion with Christ, so that you leave them aware of Christ's divine mercy. Then that is when you can say that our ministry of reconciliation has truly been met. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether we have a few questions. 5 to 10 minutes. One, two, and that should be the end. Yes, in white at the back, and this one, and then we are done.
My
So-
name's
so that we
once,
go for-
thank you. My name's once again Bishop Picho. I just want to make this, maybe you highlight this. how much
Can we just begin to give God some glory and honor right here? Thank you. Right here. Just open your mouth. Jesus. Jesus. Bless your name, God. Jehovah. Yeshua. Jehovah. Yeshua.